We are deep in the thick of award season here, and the din is cacophonous, but all we hear is white noise. How's that
I see
one?
What you did there.
That was a good one. The latest from Noah Baumbach, and gosh, do I have thoughts on this? But please, first, Alonso, describe this film to us.
Do sheep have lashes?
Ask your father.
We're going sideways.
Dad, do sheep have lashes?
Doesn't anyone want to pay attention to what's actually happening?
So Don DeLillo's novel has often been called unfilmable, and along comes a film version of it that proves that maybe it was all along. Adam Driver and Greta Gerwig star as a married couple. They each have children from previous marriages, and I think one son who is theirs. They live a comfortable academic life. He is the world's foremost professor in Hitler studies, and they live a life surrounded by the signs and wonders that are modern products and their packaging. There's a lot of scenes in grocery stores, which is something I love in movies, especially a period grocery store, because there's a lot of like new Coke and, very kind of 80s branded things that we never saw again, or like versions of products that have gone on to change. Eventually, there is a terrible accident involving a toxic chemical that no one's quite sure what it is, and it turns into I always want to call it the violent unknown event, but that's a Peter Greenaway thing.
It's the airborne toxic event.
Thank you,
because it gave the band their name.
Oh,
I never knew that until now. I'm like, oh, I know the airborne toxic event. I didn't realize like they took their name from that chapter of the book.
Yes. So there's an airborne toxic event and they have to flee, but then they come home and no one's quite sure what the difference is. Meanwhile, Greta Gerwig's character Babette is taking pills that no one can quite trace or figure out what they do or why she takes them. And that leads everybody down a very complicated rabbit hole. Oh, there's so much going on in this movie, and yet it doesn't work.
It doesn't work at all. Like, are you questioning whether it might possibly work?
Well, here's the thing. I read the book when it came out, and then I was going to try and reread it for this release, and I wound up getting about halfway through, and I wasn't able to finish it. And so for the half of the book that I had freshly reread, it was at least sort of interesting to see them kind of try to enact certain things and take ideas and concepts and jokes and make them visual or make them, acted out. And I could tell it wasn't working. Like the idea of the Hitler studies thing in the book, it feels sort of like satirical and is kind of making a commentary about academia. And in the movie, it just sort of feels like this weird thing we're supposed to embrace, and they're not really commenting on it.
Like
and
the shock value.
Exactly.
Right?
And by the time we got to the part of the book that I didn't really remember, because it would have to go back to when the thing first came out, I was like, where's this even going? Like, I do have to go now finish the book and see if the movie really is following it to the end, because it just seems to go thoroughly like the toxic chemical off the rails.
It's just incessant and it's just obnoxious and it's so overbearing. And I can imagine that a lot of this dialogue must work on the page. Like there must be like a rhythm that is hypnotic and that is enthralling when you're reading it. But like to have every single character speak in that same kind of like incessant yammering where they're just like throwing out details and factoids and non sequiturs of people are coming in and out of the kitchen and they're talking all over each other. And it just feels annoying. It's annoying as hell and also kind of lulling in a way that like, I don't think they intend. It's meant to be provocative and it achieves the opposite effect.
Yeah. I mean, there is, I think as prose, I think it really pops and it does bring this sort of eccentricity to it and a kind of commentary about the way we live and how we take in information and what we hear from the media and that kind of thing. But I think in a film, you just start tuning it out because everybody just sounds ridiculous. And it's like, maybe Robert Altman could have like made this work. But then I think he probably would have thrown a lot of the text out and just kind of gone for the spirit of the thing.
Yeah.
Whereas Baumbach's really trying to be true to the DeLillo. And then you're being true to this novel that works as a novel, but is staunchly resistant to other media. And I think that's what we have here. That said, I think there are a lot of individual elements that work. I think the performers are really leaning into trying to do the thing that Baumbach is after. And so I think Adam Driver and Greta Gerwig are unimpeachable here, even if it's not, if the whole thing isn't working, but I think it's not their fault. They're giving it their best shot. I think the production design is really great. Like, this movie probably has the most intentional product placement as an aesthetic choice since like Josie and the Pussycats. And I kind of, and I like that. You kind of have to do that. Like, one of the famous lines from the novel is, you know, this child sort of whispers as a mantra the words Toyota Corolla, you know, and it's sort of about how advertising and products and all these things sort of create this weird reality around us. And I love the grocery store sequences. I mean, that to me in these little nuggets kind of nails what the book is about and trying to accomplish more than almost anything else. And the closing credits are astonishing.
The best part of the whole movie.
Like, seriously, if you're not going to watch this movie on Netflix, fast forward to the closing credits and watch the closing credits. They are it's like one of the best musical numbers of the year, with a new song from LCD Sound System.
When that part came on, I'm like, oh, we could have had this the whole time. We could have had this level of like craft and verve and just like attention to detail, and it's cohesive in a way that nothing else is.
Maybe this should have been a musical. Maybe that would have been a better way to try and communicate what the book is about.
Sung through like Umbrellas of Cherbourg.
Exactly. Without, you know, or like a jukebox musical of that era. I don't know, something. But yeah, I think I honor what Baumbach is trying to do here, but I don't know who, if anyone, could do it.
No one feels like a real human being here until the end, when like the last third or so becomes almost like a noir thriller. And at that point, only then does the marriage between Adam Driver and Greta Gerwig's characters begin to take form as a real relationship versus just an idea, like two people who were an idea kind of clanging at each other. Like, only at the end does it begin to feel like, oh, maybe there's some tenderness and some emotional realism here.
I feel no, sorry. Well, I was going to say, I think there are some bits from the novel that do translate. Like the whole thing at the beginning with the annual arrival of the station wagons. I thought that was fun. The scene in the relocation camp where they explain to Adam Driver that they're doing a simulation even though it's a real one. That's funny. The whole explanation about like, what does the computer say? How long do I have? That kind of wordplay in these individual moments does work, but I think spread out overall, it just doesn't cohere.
There's also a scene between Adam Driver and Don Cheadle where they are comparing Hitler with Elvis, and there's sort of like it's almost like a dance off between them in this one university lecture room, and that's exciting. And it's like two actors who are like really popping and really just playing off of each other.
Cameras whipping around.
There's great energy to it, and again, like individual moments sometimes have that kind of cohesion of execution, of like philosophy and execution, but then it's about cult of personality. It's also about consumerism, and it's also about marriage and family, and it's also about this and about that.
These individual pieces that are like kind of, that's the reason that you want to make this into a movie. It's like, oh, I want to do that scene. I want to do that scene. I want to do that scene. But the whole thing of it all, I think, is just more than, and I don't know if anybody could do it, but I think it eludes Baumbach's grasp.
Yeah, that is Sam and May Nivola, who are brother and sister in real life, and they are the kids of Alessandro Nivola and Emily Mortimer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he looks just like his dad. She looks just like her mom.
Interesting.
There you go.
No, they're good.
I'm saying 4.
I said 6.6. I appreciate the effort. And like I said, there are little souvenirs out of it that I will take with me. And that closing credit sequence is a hardcore jam. But yeah, it kind of goes in the honorable failure category.
If you guys can see me right now, it's thanks to my super duper easy to use Joby tripod. I've got a little light on top of it. Makes it so easy for when Alonso and I do all of our YouTube video recordings. Check it out. So here it is, and you can move the legs and attach it to things and place a phone on here for recording. They have light stands, they have mics, they have all kinds of equipment. It's a great gift for the folks in your life who are creators themselves. Maybe you know somebody who is a filmmaker or an aspiring filmmaker or an aspiring YouTube creator. They've got so many great kinds of equipment there to get started. It's so easy to use. We have a link down below for you to go to joby.com and explore.